Okay, for everybody on the call, I've just pressed record. So I think you might have a okay. Excellent, and I think we've got a welcome everybody to the sustainability debates. This one's between Jonathan Steinberg and Chip Stephens. Thank you very much for coming, both to our candidates, obviously most importantly, but also to everyone on. And it is also being recorded and posted to Sustainable Westport and to Earthplace. The debate is drawing slightly less sort of audience viewerships than the one last night, but it's still just as important to us all here in Westport. So thank you very much for coming. It's a moderated discussion with questions prepared for each candidate, and they're prepared by Earthplace, who are our co-host tonight. Tony McDowell is in a wave right now. He is not only the executive director of Earthplace, also sits on the Sustainable Westport team, and just as importantly for everybody here, is also a Zoom host as well alongside me. So to ensure civil behavior all round of us, audience and panelists included. So we're also co-hosting, I said, between Earthplace and Sustainable Westport. It's used to be the Sustainable Westport Advisory Team, formerly of Green Task Force, a first selectman appointed committee. But we are just in the post of transition to a 501c3 status as an initiative within Earthplace. So same people, same passion for this, same partnership with the town really, but just a 501c3 that we are also welcoming all comers to come get involved. And it's following Sustainable Westport on Instagram, earthplace.org on the web. We're here for everybody there. And also, there are input from other organizations we're very thankful for, like the EV Club of Connecticut, amongst others. So thank you for that. So the candidates know the broad topic of sustainability. That's why they came, but they haven't received any of these questions in advance. Our idea is just to sort of, hopefully surface a really good debate, put some daylight between the views, and we can help inform our voters out there. There'll be a volunteer timer. Timer is Pippa. Smile Pippa, or not even better than that, demonstrate, 30 seconds remaining. And then the other one is time is up. And then the one after that, which you don't get always on national television, is an easy mute button from me. So we don't want that. But we would much prefer to sort of look at the time, respect each other's space, and we will move hopefully the debate on at speed. It is a debate rather than an open Q&A, so everyone all mute please, and no videos, just gives us the attention on the speakers. But if you do have something for us that you think you want to incorporate, do feel free to private message Tony McDowell or drop it into chat on there for Tony, and we will try and make a go of incorporating it. Please be kind to each other, follow the golden rule. We expect this to be as civil as the last one, and we're looking forward to it. So we had a very high-tech spin system that was in play just before everyone joined. And Jonathan, you won the toss and elected to go first for now, which means you go last at the end. So Jonathan, your 2-minute opening starts now, but when I say now, 2-minute opening, and just for everyone to know, we're then going to do a moderated Q&A after the openings across environment and climate, equity, resilience, waste, and if we have time, COVID and sustainability and the intersection there. And then we're going to have a lightning round afterwards, rapid fire and then some closes. Okay, all hopefully by 6:45. So Jonathan, with that, it's over to you.
Thank you, Peter, for moderating this debate. Thanks to Earthplace for all that it does, including this debate. As I'm sure Chip would say as well, I remember going to Earthplace back when it was the Fairfield County Youth Museum, going back when I was very young. And I learned so much by walking its trails and being involved with so many of its educational programs, that it's really informed my entire perspective as an environmentalist here in the state of Connecticut. And let me add, with Sustainable Westport, and again, I've been attending meetings going back more than a decade, back when it was the Green Energy Task Force. It's a wonderful forum of some very bright people that is really looking out to practical solutions on behalf of the town of Westport and interacting with the state. So, I've had the advantage of 10 years in the legislature. I've had great mentors here in Westport, and I have really taken the opportunity to become as committed an environmentalist as any legislator in the state, as recognized by my awards from the Sierra Club, and many years as legislative champion by the League of Conservation Voters. Why are we talking about the environment when we have issues of COVID, issues of the economy? I would submit that this issue is every bit as important as anything else we could talk about as candidates for office. I view this as an existential issue for us, not simply a matter of the impact on climate change and the environment. It impacts our healthcare, it impacts our economy, and there's tremendous opportunity with green jobs. But I don't want to use existential in a fashion to make people concerned that it's too big for us to do anything about. Everyone has a role to play. And I hope in today's conversations, we'll talk a lot about practical solutions, what the state can do, but equally importantly, what can the community do and what can the individual do? I think I've become a thought leader on environmental and energy policy. I'm intent to prove right now that I can bring that to bear.
Thank you very much, and time is up. Chip, over to you.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Sustainability Westport, and thank you to the Earthplace, the Earth Center, formerly the Nature Center, I believe it was, back when I was young. I'd like to set the stage right away. I really appreciate you having me today. I have been big into the environmental movement since Earth Day was conceived back in 1972-73. I had a very forward-thinking biology teacher up at Staples, and he really got me into this, and much of my time has been spent up in Maine in school and other times, so I really enjoyed this. Let me say from the start, I think everybody's issue should be right now is education, and this is a big part of my campaign. I think that Sustainability Westport, Earthplace, all of us have to educate people on the issues and solutions and different alternatives to the difficult things we have. We really have to sell our agenda or else things don't get done. Back in the 70s, there was a very visible sign. We needed Earth Day and we needed this type of thing. There were rivers in Washington, D.C. catching fire. There were bottles all over the road. We met it. And one thing I get disappointed sometimes is people don't give credit to all that's been done in the last decades to get us to where we are here. We are in a much better place today. We have a long way to go. Since I was elected to the Planning and Zoning 10 years ago, I have been very active. The first thing we did was to protect open space in Westport. Westport has a very lack of open space compared to other communities. We protected open spaces at Barron South and other places, which we'll get into. We've protected the waterway, the aquifer, with a lot of the things we've done there. Clean water, pollution, and energy. We'll talk all about that today. Each one of those things I've dealt with, and we made action here in Westport. I believe strongly in think globally, act locally, and we'll talk about that today. Thank you.
Thank you. So first question, thanks everyone for your opening statements. I want to start at that top level, this idea of like think globally. Let's start there, and this idea of selling an agenda or it doesn't get done. Please can you give your views on climate change as an issue, where it sits? The world has said it needs to be net zero by 2050. And obviously there's a piece about the Paris Agreement, whether we stay in or not. So if you could say like how urgent and important is the climate change issue in your agenda? And where does your agenda differ from your national and your state parties if any? So let's go first with Chip.
Thank you very much. Again, get back to the situation. Do as I do, not as I say. We have got to lead the way if we're going to talk about sustainability and the global agenda. And I think in Westport, we have done a very good job. I think that we've done a lot of programs. We've moved forward on some things so well, other things not so well. Again, we have to sell our ideas. We have to sell the agenda. Somebody mentioned on the last one, plastic bags. Great idea. We decrease the amount of waste we have in our dumps, but something we didn't think about and we've got to think about today is how it affects certain businesses, because then it becomes an economic issue and everything else. If we get everybody to salute the issue as important and that it treats everybody the same way, then it works. Pollution. We have got to, again, work more here locally in terms of cleaning up land waste. Different towns have been in a lot of trouble. Even in Westport, we've had our issues. We've got to clean up problems that have been created in the past, smartly, efficiently, and proactively. Energy, we've got to think about where we're going if we want to be net zero. I don't believe we're going to be net zero unless we have new technology, better batteries to store energy, salute things like Hydro-Quebec that is supplying mega amounts of energy, but having issues in transmitting it. The new mini nuclear reactors that have just been approved and I believe are being experimented with here in Westport, not in Westport, but in the state of Connecticut. There's many new opportunities that are coming up. We've got to make people not afraid of them. We got to make people think that they're going to be an advantage and work with them and let them know the alternative. By us doing that, we'll have an educated population that can create these solutions to the problems we know about. And then globally, we can work on answers. The Paris agreements are far from us. We can salute it. We can say it. Let's show we can do it first. Thank you.
So Chip, and then sorry, Jonathan, and then I'll come back to you, Chip. Jonathan.
Well, Peter, I believe very strongly that, yes, climate change is settled science. We have plenty of data. Look at the extreme storms, the wildfires in California, the melting of the polar ice caps, the extinction of hundreds of species every year. It is upon us. It's happening faster than some people even predicted, and everybody has a role to play in this. I'm very concerned about the federal government that has not only repudiated the Paris Climate Change Accords, is feverishly working to deregulate as much as possible.
Give him another 30 seconds, I think. Sorry, I just wanted it even. Sorry, my fault. My fault.
So the point is, Connecticut has a role to play to protect us in a variety of ways. Chip mentioned distributed generation. I think that's more important than trying to get hydro from Quebec because of various security issues related to remote generation. There's so much we can do locally with solar, with microgrids, with various resilience mechanisms. Obviously, I need more time to talk about a lot of these things than I'm afforded at this moment. But climate change is critical to us right now. And everything from healthcare to the economy to pollution, all these things need to be addressed. I'd love to be able to offer up a bunch of solutions. So I sure hope you ask questions about that.
So yeah, so the first thing I'm going to do back is just 30 seconds each. Just nail the part of the question that I didn't hear. Your speeches both either sounded slightly similar or completely different to your national platforms. How are you different compared to your national platform and what your presidential candidate, for instance, says on climate change? I mean, Chip, that's probably the most obvious one in terms of like reading the National Geographic article, for instance. What you said sounds very different. Help me out. How do you differ from your national platform?
Again, I'm not going to deal with national platforms. We have too many important local issues here. You'll know immediately that I have gone against my party in terms of greening parts of Westport that were for development or for other reasons, giving away property. I work with my conscience and with what's going on. Yes, there is global warming. There's been global warming and global cooling throughout the years. I'm glad we finally got away from the argument about man-made or not man-made. There is an issue. How can we stop it or slow it down? I'm not sure. It might take God to do it, but we can help. And we can realize that fixing pollution, fixing waste energy, leaking gases and things, we can deal with all these things. But I believe that here in Westport, we got a lot of smart people. We got a lot of people with good opinions. We got things that will create programs that will help us here locally. And again, we can share statewide, nationwide, and even globally. But unless we have a global answer, little's going to be done for the overall problem. So let's, again, remember, let's focus on the problem. Let's think of solutions. Let's deliver. I didn't see Pippa say anything. So
I know. Pippa, did he get more than 30 seconds there? Felt like he did. No problem. You've got slightly more than 30 seconds to be fair, Jonathan. But the key piece is, I know we're going to go to local. My question was national. So that's what I just wanted to focus on here. So Jonathan, 30 seconds if you can. How do you differ / are similar to the national program that you see on climate change?
Well, thankfully, my party's national program is very consistent with my goals as well. If anything, it's not strong enough. I go further than candidate Biden in trying to wean us off fossil fuels and particularly fracking. I think that our focus on solar energy and other renewables and on energy efficiency needs to be made even more a priority. And I think that a new administration will make that possible. As far as state policy goes, it's very easy to be consistent with state policy because I'm driving it. I'm one of the leaders on all energy and environmental issues. So it's really easy for me to agree with myself.
Thank you very much. That's great. So let's go down. Let's go down to the local level now. Westport, as you all know, has a town-adopted goal, RTM approved goal of getting to net zero community by the year 2050, where we've managed to reduce our impacts across energy, water, and waste, so sustainably managed, using supports approaches that are economically viable, social benefit, and environmentally responsible. How would you work going forward in your your top priorities to address this in Westport? Top priorities going forward. 1 minute each, please. Let's go, Jonathan first.
Well, one of the first things I do would be to enable communities like Westport to take advantage of virtual net metering, which has been capped, and that's really frustrating for municipalities that want to do more renewable energy, want to have more resilience. I've been working to increase the cap. I tried to introduce an amendment on the Take Back Our Grid Act, and unfortunately it was ruled non-germane. But this is a high priority for us to be able to do things. Westport's a leader, has done so many things with solar on schools, at the railroad station. We've done a fairly decent job on energy efficiency in schools and other public buildings. There's so much more that needs to be done. I helped co-write the Lead by Example program 10 years ago, which has led to a lot of turnkey solutions for municipalities. I think that we need to help Westport with its plans to expand the recycling of organics, composting. We need to create a network for both transportation and for processing of that. Certainly the plastics, one of the leaders in the plastic bag ban, plastic straws, PFAS, microbeads.
Thank you.
I'm out of time.
And more. Go local then, Chip. You wanted to go local when I asked national. Now you can go local.
I'll go national now. No, locally,
go forward.
As a member of the Planning and Zoning, we gave more footprint to the Green Task Force, Sustainability Westport than anybody ever has. I'm very much in favor of many of the things they speak about, but I'm going to come back to the greatest thing we can do in Westport and spread it among our communities is educate people. How much does wind power compared to solar power, compared to hydroelectric distribution, to fossil fuel in terms of its downsides, its upsides, and its efficiencies? I mean, if we can't get solar power and wind power in Westport to take the place, how do we do it? Through choices in who provides us. Again, Hydro-Quebec has amazing amounts of power coming down through the grid. How do we improve the grid? Many things like that. So we have to educate so people accept these different proposals and that they know what they're doing when they are brought these things to their attention. Otherwise, things just get lost and they're going to hear yada, yada, yada. So best thing we can do in Westport, Sustainability Westport, is educate and make these things viable in people's minds.
And then let's go super hyper local. Let's see, what are the top 3 things that the listeners to this debate should be doing? And again, just 30 seconds on this one. Chip first. What would we be doing?
Absolutely. Supporting groups like the Planning and Zoning that have really tried to increase our canopy and our green open spaces. Very important. We have very little land here. Developers are crazy to develop it, put buildings on it and things. We need support from the community. Again, listening, educating, that's number 1. That's paramount. And then in terms of recycling and everything that's going on, I heard arguments in the last one about single source, multi-source and everything. We've got to find places that will take our waste.
Find places to take our waste. Okay. Jonathan, so hyperlocal, what do you want people to do?
Well, certainly if we open the virtual net metering cap, I think there are projects that will go forward here in Westport. I agree with Chip that waste management is a huge opportunity. I think the age of single stream recycling is over. We're going to have to learn to recycle by separating again. We need a statewide solution, but the community, to Chip's point, needs to be educated on how important it is to separate. We can get organics out of the stream, which muck up a lot of the other materials. I think that will be a big benefit for us as well. The third thing, energy efficiency, community choice aggregation. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. 1, 2, 3. That's good. Okay, that's good. At least you both run time. This is a nice pivot, actually. I'm interested, especially in the idea on finding places to take our waste, to quote Chip, and also sort of the kind of restriction on development within Westport as a solution to climate change. Pivoting to equity, who's taking our waste? And also pivoting to equity, who can or cannot afford to live here? How do we see equity and climate change and the intersect affect Westport? And what do you think about the solutions? So help us connect the issues, please, of equity, both in income and disparities, and access to clean air, and also to those pieces like what happens to our waste, what happens to where is our energy being created. So please bring it home to us here in Westport. What does equity mean for you as it intersects with sustainability? Jonathan, you go first. This is a big one. We're pivoting topic now, so let's give it a sort of a full minute each.
Well, there's no doubt there are huge equity disparities in our state in so many ways, and it plays out in the environmental sphere as well. As chair of the Public Health Committee, I'm particularly focused on inequities that lead to healthcare impacts, whether it's asthma, cardiovascular disease, pulmonary respiratory problems, which is a direct result of both pollution from cars and from businesses, but also from a lot of the activity further west that blows our way. If we're going to really address this, we have to acknowledge that we have to create tools for people to take matters in their own hands, making their homes more energy efficient, access to solar, whether through shared solar programs or the like, the ability to reduce the amount of garbage they create by working on packaging and the product life cycle, so that we actually create less waste in the first place, so we have less to dispose of, because we're not going to be sending it to China or India or Pakistan anymore. We're going to have to find a ways to deal with a lot of this waste ourselves, and that's on all of us.
Thank you. Chip.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of arguments about making houses more efficient, everything. I think that gets away from the equality issue. I think there's a different equality issue in Westport than there is in the state, than there is nationally, than there is globally. So that's kind of an open type thing. Here locally, what we've got to look at, the reason that multi-stream versus single stream happened, single stream came about because we had better facilities in Bridgeport and other places to separate there. You know, it's gone away in most states, most places, because of where we've come in terms of separating at the end point. And there's many jobs there. There's many jobs in terms of green and energy that we could be promoting here with our institutions like Yale and all the universities we have. We ought to take advantage of our young people graduating, keeping them here and creating solutions. And again, education again. Why are we where we're at right now in terms of using single stream? It's something that we've evolved to, and we shouldn't say we're going to abandon. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I'll come back to you actually, Chip, just to help you keep going on two of these things here. One is, I've always thought of energy efficiency as an equity issue because it reduces energy poverty. So I'd like to hear how those things aren't connected, if you don't think they are. And also, I'd like to also hear about Westport being net zero waste. If actually our waste ends up in Bridgeport, in a community that you say like it's creating jobs, but exactly, does that feel like an equitable state?
I'd be really interested to hear your energy equity explanation, but let me say again, I'm not saying dump our trash on Bridgeport. I'm saying that it took years for them to evolve a place where they could burn trash cleanly and separate it at the lines there to, again, it used to be money making, as one of our senators said earlier. That was, again, something that's been evolving and was working well until we lost the people that were taking the different parts, the paper, the metal, the batteries and things. It's an evolution that we've got to stay on top of, we've got to move forward with, and that way, everybody makes out, everybody makes money, and if they make money, people are happy, and these things continue and they evolve and we get better. If we don't, we just push solutions on people, they come to a dead end and we go nowhere.
So Jonathan, if you could kind of chip in for me on these two pieces, like tying energy efficiency and equity, and the equity considerations of effectively health outcomes. I was thinking for one to help answer Chip's question, health outcomes of sending all that waste to just over the border. How does that feed into your strategy on waste?
I'm glad you brought up the health component. One of my good friends, who's a real eco warrior, Leticia Colon de Mejias, and I had worked on a bill that didn't make it through last year because of the COVID, that would focus on upgrading homes, particularly not so much even for energy efficiency, though that's a component, but also to deal with health issues. Mold in the homes, lead paint, various other things. There's plenty of studies that indicate that if you upgrade homes, not only for energy efficiency, that you increase productivity in both business and residential settings. And now that we're all home with COVID, upgrading our homes so that they're energy efficient and that they're productive work environments in terms of light and HVAC systems and airflow are critical for us. And that's something that every community, whether it's Westport or Bridgeport, can get behind. And energy efficiency is a critical issue. Low-income people pay a disproportionate amount of their bills, their bills for energy. We need to bring those costs down so that they can actually have economic opportunity.
Thank you. We're gonna pivot now. Thanks, and the time's up there. So let's move on to infrastructure. Sort of we've talked about both in the previous debate and now about the need to decarbonize the U.S. economy. And at the heart of this plan is clean electrification. So focusing on transport for now, what legislative changes would you advocate to spur the rapid transition we need away from fossil fuels in transport? And an extent also to the extent clean electrification affects the building sector, is there anything there as well? But let's focus on transport, and let's give you guys a minute each. I think I'm on Chip first.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we have to improve our infrastructure. I think we have to make it more efficient to get from point A to point B on our highway system. And we have a discussion at some point about tolls and how that affects the whole equation with electric tolls. It's a lot more efficient than the old stop and wait tolls where there's a lot of pollution. But then again, if you want to talk about equality in finances and energy, you got to remember that tolls are the most regressive tax in the world. Everybody pays the same tax. I want to get back to what we were talking about before in terms of equality in terms of energy. It's very nice to clean up houses and make them more energy efficient and cleaner inside. But if you're talking equality, you're talking about larger complexes, you're talking about affordable housing, which often come in family housing and multi-story houses. That's what we've got to look at, how we can improve those, because the poor don't pay those electric bills, the developers and the owners do.
Thank you. Jonathan, infrastructure, focusing on transportation.
Well, everybody knows that I've been a real bear on transportation infrastructure. The right answer is more efficient and effective mass transit. We also need to fix our roads and bridges so people aren't stuck there creating pollution. One of our greatest polluters is from transportation. We need to invest in our electric vehicle infrastructure. We need to convert more fleets to electric vehicles or even potentially hydrogen fuel cell vehicles, buses, cars, even trucks. We need to talk about how we're going to generate the electricity for all these EVs. Yes, we may be dependent on fossil fuels in the short term, but we need more solar, more wind, more renewable energy, more storage to facilitate the shift that we need to make away from fossil fuels and have more local distributed generation that's renewable.
I want to pick on two things that you guys did mention, and one thing you did, and or maybe I misheard. One is what's your solution to reducing the inequity, the regressive tax of tolls? What's your solution instead? And affordable housing sounds sort of great from both a carbon efficiency and an equity perspective. What's your view on affordable housing in Westport? So maybe just take those, and then the other one is public transport, which I'd like your comment on as well. So inequity of tolls, affordable housing, and public transport. Maybe Jonathan, you go first.
We've had a lot of conversations about potential inequities in tolls. Right now, there's tremendous inequity, and it's regressive because taxpayers are paying 100% of the bill for transportation infrastructure investments rather than out-of-state drivers. So right there, there's an inequity. We've talked about rebates for low-income people on their taxes if they're paying taxes. We've talked about frequent flyer programs so that if you're traveling the same route frequently, you would get some sort of discount. All those things are worthy of discussion. When it comes to affordable housing, yeah, we need more affordable housing in the right places where there's transportation infrastructure, where there are sewer systems so that that's effective as well. There's so much we can do on that score. And when it comes to buildings, we have aging infrastructure in our state. It's a huge area. I agree with Chip that we need to go beyond single family homes and help landlords update their multifamily units as well. And also we even started talking about commercial opportunities.
And then just while you've got a few seconds, I hear like affordable housing in Westport. What's your view there?
Well, I think that we're on a good path. Westport's on a moratorium. We don't get enough credit for all the good work we've done. You know, there's a natural synergy between locating affordable housing where consistent with smart growth principles, where people can live with a quality of life, and we want to make that available to more people.
Thank you. So those three points to come back on, please, Chip. Inequity of tolls, what to do, affordable housing, public transport.
Okay, I'd like a little extra equity on the time factor too. So let's start with affordable housing. Westport has been a shining star as an example, I believe, in the state, maybe the nation and the world. We have provided affordable housing since 4 or 5 decades ago. And every time we do it in a nice fashion in terms of energy efficient, clean, smart housing. Housing right now at Hales Court, Sasko Creek, Canal Park, and other IHZ developments, we've made sure that people have a great place to live and that it's a place where they can live honorably. And then again, that they're designed to the standards that we demand in this town. And I believe we've done a great job. We don't get credit for much of the affordable housing we have. There's a lot of auxiliary housing that's been used for years in town. We don't get credit for that. We don't get credit for things before. So I think we've done a good job. Infrastructure does need to be fixed, and we've got to figure out a way to do that. Originally, the gas tax was supposed to take care of the infrastructure. That's been robbed so many times that now we're looking at tolls, which again will evolve into the same problem. I think we've got to find ways to cut costs and improve our infrastructure, target our infrastructure, so that we're working on smart things that need it first. I get a few more seconds, I believe.
I'm giving you even more seconds to talk about public transport, because I've tried 3 times. Go for it. Include public transport in your extra seconds.
God knows we need help with public transport. Yes, our trains are getting slower. Yes, our trains are not always filled up. That's a lot of has to do with the bridges that cross in Norwalk and Greenwich. If we could get those fixed, and I heard this back in the 70s when I was in Staples, if we could fix those bridges, we could have more cargo, more commercial stuff going on it. So we got to figure out a way to take care of that. Maybe part of that is from energy taxes. We've got to figure out a new way. We've got electric cars coming. We've got people moving towards trains. Hopefully, we've moved towards gas-powered buses and electric buses. These are all good things, which we hopefully will have our affordable housing projects near. A lot of this is evolving. A lot of this is being done, and we've got to educate everybody in what's being done and what we're looking forward to be doing, so they support us in moving forward.
Great. So I'm going to pivot now. Thank you. Thank you for there you go. Hopefully you feel sort of the seconds are equal. COVID and sustainability. I wanted to talk about that. There's been a huge year on pollution, both being identified as the world's singlest environmental health risk, but also the changes in some cities and some counties, sort of with COVID. So as we make this sort of hopeful, intelligent recovery, what can we be doing to minimize air pollution, especially from transportation and energy, with a priority for addressing these impacted communities, with again, a perspective of environmental justice and equity? How can we make this economic recovery basically mindful, intelligent, sustainable? What do you think about COVID and sustainability? Chip, go first.
Well, as many of you know that have read my material, I'm a microbiologist, virologist by training, and I'm not really quite sure where you're coming from putting COVID together with the environment. COVID is a virus. It's a virus that's been around for years. This is a mutated version that's much more dangerous than the cold virus that has been around for years. COVID is something that we're working on, we're learning. I would hope that we'd stop the arguing and political bickering over it, and that we move towards the solutions that we're getting very close to, and that we better understand what herd immunity and things like that are. They're real, they mean things. I have to laugh at people when they say, I'll never take a vaccine because they're dangerous. We've got to teach people to take those vaccines, and that goes across the board in equality. I've heard people say that they don't believe in antibodies. They're going to wait for a vaccination. Hey, folks, a vaccination creates antibodies, and that's how it works. Again, it comes back to learning, to educating, and in Westport, we've done that well. We've shared our educational system with our neighbors. We were one of the first to do that back in the 60s and 70s, Project Concern. We have got to lead forward in helping people in underserved communities understand how to protect themselves, how to keep the older and the compromised populations away from the young. That way we can continue schooling and protect the older people while moving ahead till a vaccine actually happens. And hopefully we start soon teaching people that the vaccines are safe and they've got to accept them. If they do that, then we're going to move forward with that, and we'll be able to deal with other things, as you mentioned, Peter. The environment is important when you look at some of the other diseases that we're facing before then. West Nile, dengue fever, a resurgence of plague. All these things are happening because of global warming and insects and other animal vectors coming further north because of the warming atmosphere. How do we deal with that? We've got to learn more about these. We've got to find more about vaccines and do more training, more education.
Thank you, Chip. See if you can connect for me, Jonathan, the COVID and the sustainability recovery.
Let me start by saying I thought I heard my opponent talk about herd immunity. I sure hope he's not talking about the Great Barrington Accords. We are nowhere near herd immunity. I agree that vaccines are a key to getting us to where we can finally return to some sense of normalcy. But let me address the question that you really asked. One of the silver linings that actually has come out of COVID is that people are staying at home. So a lot less transportation, which has been documented to actually reduce the amount of pollution. So now that we recognize that the home is becoming a business center, a place where there's so much more activity, yes, again, I'm going to double down. We need to have more efficient homes. We need to have more productive homes. There's so much more that we can do there, investments in that. And then we also talk about the business sector. I'm a big fan of a carbon charge program. We need to incentivize businesses to reduce their carbon emissions as well, as we're asking them to evolve to be able to conduct business even during COVID. This is an opportunity. We've learned so much the hard way, perhaps, because of COVID. But I think coming out of it, there'll be a bunch of best practices that we're going to be able to apply that both affect health and the environment.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So let's go from here to a little bit of resilience and energy costs. Connecticut residents pay the highest electricity rates amongst all 48 states. What changes should occur, do you think, to our system and to ensure more affordable and reliable and clean energy? So what are the big changes? Let's do Chip first.
Yeah, back decades ago, not too many decades ago, I was younger, we had multiple electric companies and multiple generation plants in Connecticut, and we pretty much controlled our own destiny. I heard one of the candidates on the last debate say, well, you know, we can punish the electric company now and make sure their rates stay the same or go down. Well, that's how we ended up in the situation we're in right now. They didn't allow proper raises to go and didn't allow proper management of distribution and getting energy. So we ended up with this multi-state consortium that we live with right now, and they don't always do the right thing. So I think we've got to come back to reining in the power of this group and take back, as somebody said, our grid, but taking back our grid in terms of being able to control how the rates are done. Are they qualified? Are they needed? Are things being done properly? I'm sick of hearing the fear and misinformation about it's all about the executives. It's much bigger than that. We all know that. So I think we have to have a better accountability by PURA. I don't think that they've done a great job in terms of managing utilities, electric, water, and everything else. I think we've got to come back to get more efficient accountability and more efficient regulation over the utilities. And in utilities, I will include for equality, not only electric, but water and also broadband communication. Again, that comes back to the education. If we can do that and we can manage the cost better, the distribution and where we get it from, and have everybody understand what their choices are, I think that we can bring down rates much more. But whenever you hear about punishing a utility or punishing executives, or it's somebody's fault besides our own, you got to say, you know, how did we get here? How did that happen? And how do we get back to a place where we can manage our own futures?
Thank you. Jonathan.
Well, I agree that we need big changes. We need fundamental regulatory reform. What we saw with the problems with the storms are really just a symptom of an underlying problem that has existed since deregulation more than 20 years ago. And by the way, Chip, it wasn't that great back then either. Right now, we have given PURA more resources for enforcement. And I agree that there's more that need to do, but my opponent wanted us to defund PURA, which is exactly as wrong-headed as you could possibly be, because they're in the position actually to provide oversight and enforcement. What I really think that we need to make sure we're doing is when we rejigger our entire regulatory format, is focus on investment, grid modernization, investment in new technologies like smart meters, more investment in the grid in terms of smart transmission lines, smart transformers, all the things that will allow us to do demand response and things of that nature. I'm not sure in the short term that's necessarily going to bring down rates, but if we have more distributed generation, more local generation, we're not as dependent on remotely created energy, which it creates transmission and delivery costs that are raising our rate.
Hold that there.
Peter,
Mike, come back to you.
Peter, I'd like to answer one of the statements my opponent made.
Yeah.
That is, he said that I said to defund PURA. I made that statement in a statement about defunding police and how irrational that was. And because of PURA's actions that we've seen in this town with water and energy, I made the statement, I said, I'd much rather defund PURA than the police. So that was taken out of context, and I still stand by those statements.
But I agree that both of them are irrational.
So I actually had as a comeback question, I heard that in a debate that the sort of the defund PURA, that's a good clarification in terms of it was relative, but you're saying that you would not propose that. Would you propose an increase in resources as Jonathan has or not?
Increase of resources?
Yeah, so you're saying that you didn't propose to defund PURA, that's what you're saying? Or is it, was a relative term?
I think it's along the lines of what we had in that conversation. I'll go back to that conversation. That was, I believe PURA has been mismanaged. I don't believe it does a very good job. You can see that when we talked about our changing our water tanks here in Westport. It was a debacle. It took 2 years. And in the meantime, we're having problems with water. You can see that we're having a crisis right now. We're having problems with the fire department trying to figure out how to deal with it. And we're having an inordinate amount of new buildings, which is, putting us all at risk. I think
I should have a chance to respond.
Hold on a second.
Wait. I get to finish first, don't I, guys?
Yeah, you've got 30 seconds left. So Jonathan, please.
I think I have 35, so I'll keep going. Again, I believe that PURA should be restructured. And, in restructuring, we look at their funding and we look how they answer things. I've seen all these things like the answer to the electric problem, after the last storm. We're going to give people a few $100 because they lost some groceries. That's not what we need. We need to have staging of emergency crews. We need to have accountability or a review after each of these storms. We've had 3 or 4 in the last couple of years. Has there been a comprehensive plan? No. It's always throwing, what, at the companies and their executives. Okay, so we need to do it ourselves.
So that's definitely at least 35. Thank you. But it is worth a piece here, a sort of 30-second rebuttal, if you may, Jonathan, because I'm interested in teasing out the difference for the citizens here on. If I can capture restructure PURA, they're doing a bad job, don't knock the businesses because that's had bad effects in the past. And then it feels like a sort of bolster PURA and do go after the businesses on your side. So Jonathan, I'd like you to sort of rebut any comments, but also either help us tease out these differences.
I just have to say that my opponent has a profound ignorance about what PURA actually does.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
I'm saying it as it is.
Like ignorance.
Please
Let's
be
not
quiet.
throw around like fear. Stop.
Also, please be quiet and not interrupt each other. That would be fantastic.
Let me explain why.
So you've both criticized each other. If we can hold the 30 seconds,
And if we can hold it to civil discussion rather than ignorance, come on.
and keep the volume on the same level, please.
My opponent has been very focused on
don't interrupt me.
education, and my goal is to educate. Basically, what we did with Pura is we gave them tools they didn't have previously. They're tremendously under-resourced, but they're our best hope at providing oversight and enforcement. The idea of defunding them is ridiculous. And by the way, my opponent also doesn't realize that they have very limited ability to do anything about telecom, thanks to federal preemption on that score.
Thank you. Stop. And then if you can now stop now. Sorry, Jonathan. I am trying to kind of allocate so that there's turns here. 30 seconds and keep to 30 seconds and keep the language reasonable and the volume constant. And Chip, you can rebut on this. Have I got this right on restructuring, but Pura is doing a bad job? Don't knock businesses. Is that a right statement of your position?
My position is that Pura is inefficient and has not done a good job in solving the issues we have. My statement is that instead of instilling fear and loathing in our discussions, we look and create a comprehensive plan, learning the lessons of the last storms, learning the lessons of communities have in facing electric and water utilities, learn those, educate, and then come up with answers.
So what are you doing with Pura and the businesses? Sorry, I just need to get to the answer. What do you want to do?
Well, again, Pura is the interface between us and the businesses. I need them. Do you want me to answer? Or do you want?
Yeah. Just what do you want to do with it? It's 30 seconds. And
I want restructuring of Pura.
Restructuring.
I'd like Pura to be a more efficient organization, and I think that what we've got to do is look. We can't kill the people that are doing the work right now. We can, move ahead and get better, efficiencies and all, and that's what we need to do.
So restructure with more or less resource? Restructure with more or less resource?
We've got to restructure with a plan. We've got to restructure with information that's going to get us better ideas. We can't throw money at these things. That's the problem.
Okay, so less resource or equal?
What's
that? Is that right? On Pura, less resource or equal? Is that right?
After you do your studies and understand how to restructure, then we can talk about money and resources. Right now, there's a lot of money being spent, a lot of money being thrown around.
Sorry, Chip, more or less resource? I just need to get to the answer. It's just
I'm giving you an answer. You're telling me resources, and you're talking about physical? Are you talking about monetary? Are you talking about people? And
no,
I'm saying to you, it all comes down to monetary. And I'm not throwing monetary answers at something that we haven't fully studied and look to restructure.
So I'm trying to understand, and this is a great way to sort of finish. I've got some rapid fires to finish here. It feels like there's both need to restructure. Jonathan is saying put more resource in because that's where resource is needed, and you are saying no resource there until I work out what the answer is. Is that right?
No, I'm saying provide resources where they're needed, where we discover they need to be. If we find out more money is needed, reallocation of people, reallocate.
But not until.
Then I agree to it.
Okay.
But I'm not agreeing to just throwing money.
Got it. You've definitely evened the airtime now, Chip, if you're worried about it before. Let's do the rapid questions in terms of the closeout. Now, this really is a challenge for these two fine gentlemen that are filling up my time well. And apologies / hope you're staying on as audience on the few extra minutes we've got here, but hopefully an interesting discussion for all. We want to just basically sort of yes or no, sort of 1 to 2 second answer. That would be awesome, and then we can wrap to the closed statements. So climate change, human caused or not? Jonathan.
Most definitely, no dispute.
Chip.
Absolutely not. Human has been a contributor to it, but there is global change, and yes, we can help affect it. Yeah.
So not just, is that right?
Exactly.
Okay, and absolutely. Okay, should climate science be part of the CT public school curriculum? Yes or no? Chip first.
Absolutely yes.
Jonathan.
Yes, it needs to be integrated in every aspect of our lives.
Should towns be able to have stretch codes, including for buildings, to advance the transition to net zero? Jonathan.
Well, in theory, yes, but you've been very non-specific exactly what that means, and it can be certainly abused. So I would give it a qualified yes.
Qualified yes. Qualified yes. That's good. Chip,
Excuse me?
should towns be available to have, oh, sorry. Yeah, Chip, I did think that. Should towns be available to have stretch codes, including for buildings to facilitate?
It's again, as John, it's not been shown exactly what this is, and it probably could lead to many unintended consequences. I have run the P&Z with the P&Z.
That's a long answer. Qualified yes, qualified no. This is the rapid fire. This isn't part of the debate. No. There we go. That's good. Excellent. Trying to get some just differences here. That's excellent. Currently, the GC3 advises the governor on sustainability. Should we also have a sustainability person or czar here? Chip.
Here. Define
here in
here.
Westport. Here in Westport.
No.
Jonathan, should we have a sustainability person here in Westport?
We got Sustainable Westport. They're doing a great job.
So that's a no and a no. Name 3 things you do or have done to promote sustainability and address climate change. 3 bullet points.
Who?
Oh, sorry. Jonathan first. Thank you, Chip.
Obviously, I was involved in Westport with the Septic System Education Task Force way back in the day. I've been involved with the Greenscapes Action Project, reducing pesticides and fertilizers on lawns. I've been very involved with installing solar and energy efficiency in town buildings and at the railroad station.
Chip.
We have greatly increased the green space in Westport and keeping it green. The Barron South, Lillian Wadsworth Arboretum, Riverside Park, Partrick Wetlands. We are keeping Westport green. I also have been involved in the septic system at Westport. What?
3 bullet points. This is the rapid fire.
The septic system in Westport.
Thank you. That's it. Perfect. Perfect.
Wait a minute, that was 2.
Okay.
The third one is pollution. And
thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. This is just the bullet point answers. What, if any, year do you think Westport could and should get to net zero? What year? Chip first.
I think it's a great destination. I'm not sure if it's attainable, but I think in the long run we're going to do much better, and we got to keep trying.
What year? What year? Could and should.
I gave you one. I don't. I'm not sure we can do that.
So not sure at all. Okay. What year could and should we do it, Jonathan?
I would hope by 2040 at the latest, but a lot of it's beyond our control.
Got it. 2 bullet points, both of you. Awesome. So what you can do now is wrap up 2 minutes each. Please bear in mind 2 things. What do you want people to remember, both from this chat and about your position and how it differs from the others, and again, to the extent it differs on the ticket that the people will be voting for, and what do you want people to remember? So 2 minutes. It starts now with Chip.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having this debate, Earthplace and Peter and everybody that was involved. I'd like them to remember that my main point is that we've got to educate and give people facts and help them understand the upside and downside of all these arguments. If we don't, we're going to go nowhere. Good example would be, we were talking about leaf blowers a while ago in terms of noise, and then it went to in terms of energy.
Is everyone still here apart from Chip?
I've been there, has maintained, created parks and green space. We're trying to increase the canopy in Westport, one of the poorest ones in the state. I'd like them to remember that we talked about things like the septic system, that we've got to help people understand why it always isn't great to put things in sewers, that we've got to regenerate our aquifers by making efficient septic tanks and respecting the blue line where the study's being done, where it's needed and not needed. We've done a lot of these things, and I want to see so many more things done. But again, we've got to educate, we've got to determine where we can get the most bang for the buck, where we can get things done properly. We've got to stop looking and blaming the state. We've got to stop looking and blaming the federal government, and we've got to stop blaming everybody. We've got to find where the blame lies and where we can find solutions for it. And then we can improve things like Pura, we can improve the environment, and we can be, again, a shining beam to the rest of the state, the nation, and globally. Again, think globally, let's get things done here, let's find solutions. We've got many strong people here, many wealthy people, many very smart people. Let's use it, let's find those solutions, and let's bring those solutions to Hartford, and hopefully from Hartford to Washington, and then the world. Westport's a good place, very smart place. I hope we make a difference. Thank you.
And thank you, Chip. You got an extra 10 seconds because you froze for everybody on leaf blowers. So if you could explain your position on leaf blowers, because you said it, you were starting, and then
very sorry. We had a thing at the P&Z. Somebody brought up leaf blowers, and it had to do with noise. And we started on that road, and then all of a sudden it went to pollution and carbons, and it went nowhere because then you had two different people. We've got to focus and then teach.
So sorry, you for or against leaf blowers? I didn't get that.
I'm for efficient leaf blowers, yes.
Efficient, does that mean a diesel?
I thought this was a very 10-second thing I got.
Yeah,
no,
because I thought that you were just about to launch into it.
There's no such thing as diesel lawn blowers. Come on, man. Forget it. No, I'm all in favor of electric leaf blowers. They're not going to work commercially until we find something more powerful, better batteries. That comes back to batteries, you remember I mentioned. We've got to have more efficient and good batteries for that.
Got it. You were on a piece of leaf blowers. Everyone wanted to know what you were talking about, and then you came back 20 seconds later. That was all.
Got it.
Jonathan, close us out. 2 minutes.
Conversation about leaf blowers, but let's get back to this matter at hand.
2 minutes.
But Westporters, if you care about the environment, if you care about combating climate change, if you care about changing energy regulatory policy, I submit my record of being there for you for the past 10 years, both in Westport and in Hartford. I'm considered one of the thought leaders in energy policy, and I testify before the Environment Committee on several bills every year. I've been there and I've done that, whether it's on virtual net metering, plastic bags, EVs, shared solar, community solar of various sorts. I'm considered a leader on this, so that you can count on me to be there for you going forward. If we're going to actually bring about change at the state level, from environmental justice to creating new green jobs, to revive our economy, to dealing with the healthcare impacts of pollution, I'm your guy. What I need are allies. I need people like Senator Will Haskell, who has shown in a very brief period of time that he's absorbed a lot of what we've talked about and has been a real ally in the Environment Committee. I need more people on the Energy Committee who understand energy policy, because it's really hard. But you cannot have a better advocate, not have a better leader when it comes to all the things we've talked about today than I have been and I will be in the legislature. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, all of you. Just for the tiny little annoying fact check, if you do want to buy a diesel leaf blower, it's in the chat. There are some. It is an issue. Come to Sustainable Westport if you care about that stuff. Zero food waste, solar, energy efficiency, and more. Sustainable Westport is a welcoming, open movement, passionate about getting us all to net zero by 2050. Thank you so much to the candidates for their time and attention on all this. Thank you to the audience for staying with us beyond time. We went over 15 minutes because it was so interesting to all of us. So thank you all so much for that. And we'll post the recordings, and all the best. Thank you all.
Thank you, Peter.